Thank you. Well, now I know to blame Karen for getting my ass out here to LA. Oh, it is such a joy to be here. All my love to Reverend James Mellon. You're very blessed. You're beyond blessed to have him as your minister. And I know you know that, but sometimes when you have a brilliant diamond sitting in the middle of the room for a long time, you just forget about it. You forget how brilliant it is, and you need to be reminded that you are extremely blessed by your leadership and by the consciousness that he brings. I also want to begin, just while I'm thinking of it, to remember that I must honor and recognize Martin Luther King, and that was the perfect song, Brave, say what you want to say. Tomorrow being the day we honor him, I don't think that we can possibly individually understand the impact of his consciousness. I always get nervous at this point that my zipper's down. Isn't that weird? It just goes, check your zipper. Okay, back to Martin Luther King, which is much more interesting. His consciousness is still infusing the evolution of who we are, moving us forward and inviting us to be brave. And inside this current civil rights movement that is now the expansion upon the movement that he created for our beloved African American people, which is still unfolding. I don't want to pretend that that's over. That still is working itself out and expanding. But it is upon the LGBT world takes a leap and from that consciousness able to now say, and how can we expand love in this area? So he's one of my personal heroes, so I just want to honor him and appreciate him, and I invite you to do the same and invite the words that were sung so magnificently. Be brave. What is wanting to be said from your heart? What is wanted to be known? What will move the world forward in love that if you say it, it will happen? Every one of us is a mouthpiece for the expansion of the consciousness of humanity. Every single one of us can do something, say something that seems so simple and yet will forever change the tapestry and the unfoldment of the consciousness of who we are. You are that magnificent. You are that magnificent. And it's easy to shy away and step aside and sort of deny yourself that and play small, but it doesn't win anything. And that's why the Global Truth Center is so vitally important, because it is the place where you are building your muscle. You are more and more saying, I am that beloved presence. I am that power source. I am the truth teller that can change the unfoldment of my life, my family's life, my ancestry. It can go backwards and forward, because time is just something that we make up that goes linearly forward. Everything you do can bless the generations before you, the generation before you. Everything you do inside of time goes up and down. It's not just vertical. You're so much more than this little physical being sitting in a seat in the middle of galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies. You are the consciousness of that which created it. And you are on the very edge of creation, causing the very life of spirit to extend into something brand new. That's a magnificent thing. That's a magnificent thing, to be conscious of who and what you are, to consciously choose what you're creating and who you're becoming. But you have to be awake for that, and that's what you guys talked about last year, so I don't need to talk about that. What am I talking about this year? What is it, clear the slate or something? I'm going to talk about whatever I want. Coming clean in 2015. So there was this guy named Adir, and he lived in a small little village, and it was a poor village. And Adir had one thing that nobody else in the village had. He had this skinny little cow. Now, the cow wasn't worth much at all. Don't think of the cows you see out here in the fields that are nice and fat and grazing on the delicious grass. This was a very, very, very skinny cow. But the cow gave them a little bit of milk. And the little bit of milk that Adir and his family got, he was able to sell or to barter. So they were able to have a little bit more than what everybody else had in the village. And yet Adir had dreams. He imagined his life to be more than what he was doing. But he had this skinny cow, and he should be grateful because it was more than everybody else. And it was passed down through his family, so he was grateful to them. It was good, but it wasn't more, and it wasn't enough. Well, one day, the Baal Shem Tov was coming through the village. Now, the Baal Shem Tov is a spiritual man, a spiritual teacher. And when he would come, people would come from all over the countryside to just sit and listen to him speak because his words were healing. Well, he was coming through the city and the village, and everyone was excited. And to Adir's surprise, he hears a knock on the door, and he opens it. And there stands the Baal Shem Tov at his doorstep. Now imagine someone that you so admire, you so love and respect, literally knocking on your door. Well, he was overwhelmed, and he did what you're supposed to do. He invited the Baal Shem Tov in, and the Baal Shem Tov and his students, which was about 10, and the Baal Shem Tov said to Adir, "We are so hungry and we're tired. Could we stay here and would you feed us?" Well, Adir said, "Of course, I would love to." So he welcomed them in, ran to the kitchen, and opened the empty cupboards. That's devastating. And so he turned to his wife. He said, "What are we going to do? We have the Baal Shem Tov and his students here in our house. We have to feed them. We have to kill the cow." The wife was like, "No, we can't. That's all we have. That we can't let that go. We can't do that." But Adir decided to do so anyway. And so he took the cow out. Now, let's pretend we're on a cooking show where you put it in the oven and then you pull it out and it's done. Suddenly, the food was prepared. In such a short time, he sacrificed the beloved skinny cow. And he thought to himself, "Oh my God, okay, at least there's so much here that I can feed them and I'll have enough for my family for the next week or so until I figure out what to do." Well, the Baal Shem Tov and his students sat down, and the Baal Shem Tov ate and ate and ate until every single piece of that was gone. There was not a piece of that beloved skinny cow left. And suddenly, to make it even stranger, the Baal Shem Tov stands up. He goes, "Well, we're done here." And he walks out the door, and he and his students go on his way. Well, you can imagine, Adir is devastated. Not only is the cow gone, not only is he's just wiped out, the Baal Shem Tov completely takes off. Well, he turns and he looks at his wife, who he's not happy. He's so hurt and devastated and afraid that he just leaves, and he goes for a walk. And he goes out into the woods, and he's just so berating himself, so beating himself up for what he did to his family and the choice he made. And as he's walking through the woods, he hears a moaning sound. He hears someone. And so he follows the voice, and he sees a man who's laying down in the woods with his leg hurting. He clearly hurt himself. So Adir runs over, and he helps the man, and he sees that the man has actually broke his leg. So he runs, and he gets some twigs, and he takes his shirt and tears it up and ties it around the leg and helps him out and brings the man some water. And he's sitting down, and he's talking to the man, and turns out that this man's name is Mordecai. Well, Mordecai is the richest man throughout all the villages, as far as you can imagine, the richest man. King of kings is Mordecai. And so they're talking, and Adir says to Mordecai, "Oh my God, I must confess, I'm so jealous of all that you have. If I could have a bit of that in my life right now." To which Mordecai said, "I don't know why you're jealous. I can't stand having it. Everyone hates me, everyone wants my money, and my family doesn't even care. All they just want me dead so they can have my riches. It's not so fun." Well, a friendship ensued, and Adir helped him get to a friend's house in the village over, passed him off, and Mordecai was healing and went on his way. So we fast forward 3 years. And the Baal Shem Tov is coming back through the village with his students again. And suddenly a beautiful carriage with beautiful horses pulls up in the street, and it stops, and out jumps a deer. And the Baal Shem Tov says, "Why, a deer, look at you. Look at you." And the deer says, "I know. Look at my beautiful carriage, my horses. This is so amazing. I'm a rich man." Well, it turns out that when Mordecai passed, you know what he did? He gave all his riches to a deer. Well, the Baal Shem Tov said, "Good for you, good for you." And the deer went on his way, and the Baal Shem Tov was standing with the students, and one of the students says, "Wait a minute, this is just too weird. For one thing, you don't eat meat. Number two, you would never go into someone's house and be so rude as to leave and not stay the evening. You wouldn't do that. What's up? That was a poor man. We're so confused." To which the Baal Shem Tov said, "A deer was never poor. I just had to get the skinny cow out of the way." Aha. The skinny cow. What's your skinny cow? What are you clinging to, thinking that you must have this, thinking that without it your life will perish, and yet because of it, it's impossible for you to flourish? Where do we find ourselves trapped and stuck? What is it? For some of us, it's the job. For some of us, it's the relationship. For some of us, it's the physical body. Obviously, we look to the world of form to say, where in my life am I dissatisfied? Where am I making something else my source? Where have I fallen asleep to the belief of the power of who and what I am, so much so that I've made myself trapped and playing small for the crumbs that I'm getting for it, thinking that that's enough. God did not design you or bring you into this incarnation for you to accept crumbs, play small, and just get by. That's not a life well lived. And I don't imagine that you'd pop out of this spacesuit at the end and look back and go, "Whoo, I ate crumbs, baby." That wouldn't satisfy you. Now, your soul's expansive, so as you look back with love and forgiveness, so there'll be no problem there, I promise you that. But in this point of consciousness, what if you could change? What if you just asked the question, what is the skinny cow? Now, everything in the world of form is simply an outpicturing, as you know, of your thinking. So let's back it up a step. I was raised Catholic. That was fun. I can say that because I was raised Catholic. And we used to say this weird thing, and I think it's weird today, but at the time, I said it every single Sunday. "Lord, I am not worthy to receive you." I know, doesn't it feel good? "Lord, I am not worthy to receive you." We didn't say it that way, by the way. You know, I really don't want to pick on the Catholic path. It's a somber path. It's this particular path of being reflective and being humble. So some of those things at the core of them are beautiful and true. But for those of us who get far and farther away from the core of it, you start to just repeat things, not understanding the heart of it, and the translation becomes fear-based over time. So to repeat over and over and over, "I'm not worthy," becomes a belief system. And I realized, actually just this week in doing my deeper practice, was, unworthiness is one of my skinny cows. And there was a payoff in feeling unworthy. You know, you can get a little bit of help if you play unworthy enough. You can get people to take care of you and help you through your life if you just can't quite figure it out yourself. None of this is conscious. It's just an underwriting story. I'm unworthy. I'm not worthy of this life. I'm not worthy of something greater. It's subtle, but it's profound in its impact. And I don't think I stand alone as being one that was seduced by that idea. These are become our skinny cows that we must seek and find and sacrifice, make sacred, remove out of the way so that a brand new experience of life can be had. If I'm consciously, or more truthfully, unconsciously worshiping the sacred cow of unworthiness, of I'm not enough, of I'm afraid, of what if people will laugh, what will people think of me, if I'm unconsciously or consciously worshiping the skinny cow that says I need to get attention in this world so that I believe I'm somebody, welcome to LA, anyone? You know, the step from wanting to be an actor and a minister is about that far. It's like, well, I can't quite do this, but I sure can do that. And there's not, believe me, I love the entertainment world. I love it. But for those of us I was in it, and for those of you who are in it, we've got to keep checking ourselves. Because from where we approach our career in life, that is what will outpicture. Exactly what soon-to-be Reverend Karen Frost talked about. When you bring the idea that it's going to be hard, or underneath it's going to be hard because of what you believe about yourself, that's what occurs. It really is true. I hate this and I love this. Everything I think consciously and unconsciously is what is creating my world. Everything that's happening in the world is neutral. Take a breath. Everything that's happening in your world is neutral. And you project onto it your beliefs, which activate your emotional response, which make you go, oh, this is terrible. And at the same time, you can look at it, and this neutral thing, you can go, breathe. What is this that I have created? Oh, look at me, powerful creator. I can create lack in a world of abundance. How amazing is that? If I can have unlimited goodness all around me and eke out a meager, not good enough life, what's possible if I killed that skinny cow? What's possible if you sacrifice the skinny little cow, the small way of thinking about yourself, of living in this world? Stop apologizing for yourself. Stop making excuses for yourself. This is your homework all week long. Do not apologize for yourself. I don't care if you bump into someone walking through the grocery store. Just go, oh, hey, hi. Who's to say the bump wasn't for that? Who's to say it wasn't for that? You made up that it was wrong. Don't apologize. Don't even apologize if your car bumps into someone else. Get out of the car and go, wow, that was cool. Nice to meet you. You have someone new in your life to have some kind of transactions going to occur. But why apologize? Why apologize? I'm not talking going down the forgiveness path. That's a completely different conversation. I know about apologizing for your existence, apologizing for being in the world, playing small. That's the skinny cow that must be sacrificed. We must stop feeding that and start feeding a more expanded idea about yourself. And I love that song so much, Brave, because it does require you to be brave. It requires you to be courageous. To be alive means to be courageous in this world today. To be really alive, to be conscious of your power, not arrogant about it, but to be conscious of it. to consciously use it for good, to declare your holiness and your wholeness is a brave stance, because if you look around, most people aren't doing it. And as we talked about in self-mastery class on Tuesday, by the way, brilliant class. Oh, stop. I seriously forgot what I was going to say. We talked about a lot of good stuff in there. All right, back to center. Take a breath. I'm going to invite the band to come up. And as you're breathing, just turn within. Place your hand on your heart for a moment. And just ask yourself, what is my skinny cow? What am I clinging to in belief or even in the world of form? That if that were gone, no matter how scary it would feel, and I get that it would feel scary, if that were gone, what's possible? Oh my God. Let your divine speak to you in your heart. Listen for a moment. I'm going to move into a time of prayer, and as we do, I invite our practitioners to stand, please. Practitioner and ministerial students, will you please stand? Will you please serve this sacred group? These are your practitioners. These people are trained to pray for you, to know your truth. Thank you for your service.
I surrender to love. I surrender to life.
Breathe it in.
I live from the truth of who I am. I surrender to love. I surrender to love.
I surrender to life.
I surrender to life. I live from the truth. I live from the truth
Of who I am.
of who I am. One love. One love. One life. One love. One truth. One truth. I am. I am. One love.
One love.
One life.
One love.
One truth. One truth. I am. I am.
In this moment, we just say yes to this thing called God, yes to this life, yes to this power and presence, that I am. One truth, one life. It is my life. I am the love of God. I am the truth of God. I am the power and the presence, the infinite goodness. I am that life. And as I know this to be true about who and what I am, this is true about each and every one of us in this room. Take a breath. Breathe in the truth of who and what you are. This is the truth of who you are. And inside of this, I declare that this is a very sacred moment, that the skinny cows are sacrificed. We lay upon the altar of the Holy Spirit, the whole Spirit of God. That's which we have been serving. That is not enough. We lay it aside and we ask the Holy Spirit, lift us up into a greater willingness to be courageous. Get out of the way anything and everything that is blocking us from living the most magnificent life possible. Give us the courage to dare to be our greatest self today. And let us surrender anything and everything unlike that. Breathe. Breathe in, surrender anything and everything that is unlike the glory of God, that you are right here and right now. Sickness, be gone. Lack and limitation, be gone. Financial insecurity, get out of the way. Fear of intimacy, fear of shining our light. Holy Spirit, dissolve these lies, that we may know ourselves as the very presence, and not only know ourselves, but live from that self and express that self and reveal the glory of God in the kingdom of heaven on earth that is rightfully ours now and forevermore. Yes? Yes, say yes to this truth. This is your truth. Deep breath, surrender to this.
I surrender to love. I I surrender to life. I live from the truth of who I am.
Sing, I surrender to love.
Surrender to love.
I surrender to life.
I surrender to love.
I live from the truth
I live from the truth
of who I am.
Who I am.
I surrender to love.
One
Yes. One
love.
love, one life.
One truth.
One truth.
I
This is who and what you are. Stand up and sing this. Sing this from your feet. One love. One life. Sing it from your heart. One truth. This is who you are. This is who you are. Sing it.
One love.
Yes.
One life.
Yes.
One truth. I surrender to love.
Breathe.
Surrender to
Feel the
love.
expansion.
I live from the truth of who I am.
And in this moment, I am so grateful for the fulfillment of this prayer. Feel the fulfillment of this prayer. You are filled full with this prayer. Feel it. This is what we're grateful for. This isn't a mental act. This is a physical vibration of gratitude. We have been expanded this day. I'm so grateful for the fulfillment of this prayer and all the good that it brings. Thank you, sweet Spirit, for giving us the courage to trust you more this day, to lay on the altar that which has been sacrificed, and to step out into the wilderness that we may meet the riches that await us. With great gratitude for the fulfillment of this prayer, I release it now. I let it go. Take a deep breath. I let it go, and so it is.